Oh, hey, sorry, I didn't see you there. You see, I had to get every single word of this lecture written verbatim so I don't fail my test. Just kidding. You see, right there, I was making the biggest mistake that students make taking notes, which is just writing down as much as I possibly can about what is being said and missing the bigger picture. I want to talk to you today about a better way to take notes that will require less effort, allow you to absorb more info in class, and actually cut down on the amount that you'll eventually need to study those notes in order to ace your exams. I'm Andrew with Brainscape, an adaptive flashcard study app built on decades of proven cognitive science research into how we learn better. As you can imagine, the best flashcards that Brainscape's own users create tend to emanate from great class notes. So we know a thing or two about how to take notes that actually help you record better info and study it more effectively. And it turns out the secret isn't so much what you do in class taking notes, it's what you do before and after class that makes the biggest difference in effective note-taking. Though we would still recommend staying awake during the lectures. If your class is anything like pretty much everyone that I've ever taken, nobody actually reads the textbook before class, even though the syllabus tells you to do so. After all, why would you read before class when the instructor is just going to lecture from the same material anyway, and your next exam isn't for like 6 weeks? I'll tell you why. Because if you can more gradually spread out your exposure to the material across a longer range of smaller repetitions, then you can end up cutting down on the net amount of study time this semester by over half. But it's not just a matter of mindlessly reading every word of the chapter beforehand either. It's about just skimming the headlines and the bold stuff in the chapter enough for you to be able to create a super rough outline for your class notes tomorrow where you can fill in the gaps along the way. You know, this outline from your textbook, it could be either on paper in your notes or it could be on a computer or a Google Doc or something, so you'll be able to more easily move sections around during the actual lecture. And sometimes you might even get a bonus where your professor put the slides online in advance of the lecture, which allows you to prepare and actually crash that instructor organization against your textbook chapters and better understand the whole gestalt. Once you get into your class itself on lecture day, those sections that you've written out in advance will save you so much time from having had to write them on the fly. And that way you free mental bandwidth to actually listen to the lecture and fill in the gaps in your outline with only the new info that you didn't recognize from having seen it in the textbook before. And even if the lecture ends up being so much different than your textbook outline that you end up having to reorganize lots of sections on the fly and it feels like a lot of work, that will still be much smoother than furiously writing those sections from scratch as you listen, and it's really forcing you to reflect in a different way on the material. And the bonus, of course, of that is that it will stick so much better since you had primed your brain before the lecture by reading or skimming, that now the repetitions you've had over a couple days will allow you to ace a test on it right away. Which brings me to the most important part of note-taking, which is what you do in the 48 hours after class. If you thought that only nerds read before class, then you'd probably agree that only the hugest nerds actually study right after class when there's not even a test coming up. But seriously, that's when to do it. Because if you could find just another 20 or 30 minutes to review those notes and clean them up and especially make flashcards in Brainscape right after class, in the first day or two after, then not only are you solidifying that material in your brain thanks to the magic of spaced repetition over all those few days of reading and lecture and consolidating notes, you'll also end up with a tool that makes it dead simple to study those flashcards in little 2-minute breaks on your phone or on your computer over the next several days or weeks. And with clear and easy spaced repetition, plus a way to actually track your progress and how much study time you have left, you won't ever have to cram at all by the time the test is upon you, while your classmates who waited to the last minute end up studying twice as long as hard if you count it all up over weeks, probably even to get worse grades. So the bottom line is that the notes you take in class and the way that you cram them weeks later, right before the test, pale in comparison to how important your activities are right before and after that class itself. If you follow the strategies we've talked about here and you like them, I guarantee that you'll get better grades with less total work and more mental energy available for you to readily rise to any challenge.